Welcome back. We've come to the Lord Chief Justice office here to speak with the man himself, Strongheart, to see about getting our permission to work again. Because we kind of need it, you know, otherwise we can't really do any lawyery stuff. So, permission to work. I actually came here today to ask for your permission. Go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of a foreign justice system. And I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Here it comes. I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role. Well, that's true. Japanese government actually sent my best friend on this study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. He was so determined to bring change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Asogi was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? Sorry? The mission with which that young law student was charged. What do you suppose it really was? What do you mean? Mission? He's not making any sense. Pin that. Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions and have been studiously obeying your revised instructions. Do you mean? As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's wonderful news, Bruno. In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope. Of course, please tell me more. A curious affair. You described it as a curious affair. Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday? Oh, no. Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see, how is it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think. Instantaneous kinesis? As in, moving things with a click of the finger? That's right. It's just what my herbal blend needs. A dash of devil-may-care. Whatever the serious accident was exactly, it's clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage, and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odiasman? Mr. Odiasman? Trying to think like what the pun or the joke is there with the name. Odiasman? I don't know. So someone like try and figure that out. What are we going on with that? There's got to be something with the name. There usually is. An investor and a well-known figure in society. Large explosion. A man died. And the man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrayne. Like, there you go, like Harebrayne. It's like if we've got Harebrayne, then what is... Where was it? Odiasman. I don't know, I feel like there's something there that I'm just missing. It's just going over my head. So fill me in. He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow. On the charge of murder. What? Murder? If you intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There is very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation. The Great Exhibition, scientific experiment gone wrong, and murder? I feel out of my depth before I've even started. Still. We should go to the prison straight away then, and try to meet with this German professor. Don't you think? Definitely. Ah, yes. One more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, with Lord Van Zieks. How? Alright, Forensic Science Symposium. All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition. And next month, the largest and most important of them all will take place at last. The International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? Exactly. Huh? London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate. So it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly, the future of policing. Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly, it's extremely alarming. If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry? By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail every one now. What? Oh, how fascinating. It all began 15 years ago. I was... Blah, 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 blah. What? Are we actually falling asleep? Like, what's happening here? And that's how he died. The end. Lots of dots. So many dots. And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right. Yes, that's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now. Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful? Actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. Is there anything else we can do here? Anything examine-wise? The Lord Chief Justice desk. When you look at that, there's no mistaking Lord Strongheart's authority, is there? But the light from that window behind is far too bright. It'd be very bad for the eyes. I hadn't thought of that. There are no curtains, that's for sure. What's more important? Having a desk with an air of authority or having eyes that work? Can't say I'd ever considered it. After all, my little office barely has any light to speak of, and I haven't really seen my desk in a while. Oh dear. It's like, we'll look at the clock. The cogs of the giant clock are keeping time as usual, their steady, rhythmical motion. It's really quite disturbing how little sound they make considering their massive size. Someone very brilliant must have designed it, and whoever maintains it must be very talented too. But I'm not entirely convinced it's even a clock. What? What about the huge clock face that forms the window over there? Some people just make machines that move for the fun of it, because they enjoy watching them. Rather like how Hurley makes his rambling deductions just for the fun of it. Even if the outcome isn't quite right. Never mind all the trouble it gets others into along the way. Oh! I just had a great idea. What is it? We could hide inside these suits of armor and spy on the Fobwatch Master to find out what he's really like. How was that in Orange? Don't have much interest in what Lord Strongheart is really like, though. Oh, please, it would be fun. You could be inside the left one and I'll go in the right. You really want to have a go in the suit of armor, don't you? Now you're making fun of me because I'm a child, aren't you? I wasn't making fun of you at all. I'd like to have a go too. Well, tell her that then. You couldn't read all these books even if you were reincarnated 3 times over. As a bookworm. Oh, I know, so much reading material. I'm very envious. I've really been running out of things to read recently. That's because you read so fast. Perhaps little by little I could swap some of the books here with some of mine from home. I don't see why not. No one would notice. Or at least I wouldn't. Even if I was reincarnated 3 times over as a librarian. Is there anything else? Like the floor or anything? Is there anything we can present to him here? Not got much to go on. The armband? By the way, Lord Strongheart, about this. The symbol of a defense lawyer in the Japanese judiciary. Oh, I didn't expect you'd know that. We never accept foreign students before first researching the legal system of their home countries. But such trinkets are merely for show. The only true measure of your worth is your performance in court. Seems fair. Yes, right. Alright, let's try the newspaper. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this? The reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition? Of course. No, not that. The story on the back page. What story? I was going to ask about the front page, but okay. You know, the one that relates to the actual case we're doing. The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not? Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he? There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zieks would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. Very well. If it interests you. It does, strangely. Ah, alright. Fortunately, Lord Van Zieks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. Oh yeah, we were coming here to ask him, weren't we? I'm trying to remember now, like he would know, and it makes sense we would ask him. But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked though, do we know? It's related to events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organization was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zieks. But the man was acquitted. I have no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money? A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday. But you're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely? The victim's henchman certainly seemed to think so. He was a man by the name of Asman. Mr. Audie Asman. Oh! Did you say Asman? That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition. Yes, known publicly as an investor, but in reality, the head of a significant criminal organization. Unbelievable. I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? Try me. Why do you use Lord Van Zieks as a prosecutor? Ooh, that got him thinking. All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zieks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still. Something's clearly going on here. I have Van Zieks work for the prosecution service for 2 reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him. Very interestingly put. They're not to do with him, but they are to do with someone. That's what I'm getting from that. Very interesting indeed. But that doesn't make sense. How can we explain the way so many have died if not by someone's hand? Van Zieks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. He is no killer. Gotta read between the lines, you really have to in these situations. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget. 11 hours late? That's quite something. That meeting had already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man. I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh yes, where would I find Lord Van Zieks now? I would assume he's at his office. Right, I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth. Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Harebrayne's defense entirely in your hands. Oh, of course, yes. Thank you very much, my lord. Well, let's go. A new location has been added. Well, let's go to the prison then. "22nd of October, local prison, cell 11. What's he reading there? The warden said cell 11. That's this one. Oh, there's someone caught up in a ball in the back corner, look. What's his name again? Professor Albert Harebrayne, was it? Excuse me? Professor Harebrayne? Who are you? I'm a lawyer? Was it something I said? A lawyer, you say? Oh, would you be here about the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis? Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't... Yesterday's demonstration! That magnificent demonstration was... It was an out-and-out success by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. no lawyer believes in the science. When it's explained, they all leave at high velocity. By choice, or are they, pulled away? Huh. Now's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while, too. Alright, let's have a word with him. Yesterday's demonstration. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday. The papers have called it a spectacular failure after all. A man died in the explosion, didn't he? And such. Yes, could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense. The experiment was a failure, but at the same time it was a great success. You've lost me. I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Asman was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However, the machine exploded and Mr. Asman, in fact, perished. Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure. So what you're really saying is the large explosion that killed Mr. Asman was an accident, correct? But the bigwigs had you arrested on suspicion of murder. I was responsible for a man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that, I wish to be punished, at once. But... murder? Never in a million years. It was an accident, simply an accident. I see. Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder. How exactly? Well, if it really was an accident, then the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody. On what grounds? Ah, yes. It's newly established here in Britain. The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. That one passed me by. But if the case is treated as a murder, then they'll say my machine was the murder weapon, and they'll be able to pore over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative that this whole incident be shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial. For the sake of that? Okay. I see now. Alright, instantaneous kinesis. So in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition Showground yesterday. Yes. Or rather, no. The devil is in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion. Sounds the same to me. You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, weren't you? How fascinating. Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using a sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see. I mean... yeah? But... the reassembly is an issue. In the correct order. You need to have like some kind of piece of information that reassembles it into the correct sequence, and otherwise that's an issue. Plus, there's other issues with how that works. How are you transmitting that information? Because there is a limit to how fast you can transmit that information and the particles themselves. And that is light speed, so how are you doing it that fast? There's questions. I need to understand this experiment much more. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see. That's my amazing hypothesis. Gosh, that's unimaginably high-level science. Oh, but dare to imagine it, dare to dream of such incredible technology. Just think, one moment I could be here in this cell, and the next, I could be at the Great Exhibition Hall again. Well, yes, that would be incredible. And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at the Great Parisian Theatre, say. The possibilities are endless. The whole of our vast planet would be within reach. So no more hiding in wardrobes or rocky seas for 50 days. I don't really see it like that. What do you mean, Iris? Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? It would feel like it had shrunk. My word, that's exactly right. What are the implications? What does this mean? Oops, that's got Professor Bunny Brain really worried by the look of it. Clearly this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose. The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. Without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. And that's always the fly in the ointment. Did you start with a human, though? They start with a box, like transmit a box somewhere, see if the box is fine. Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money. Money that young scientists like you don't have. That's exactly it, yes. Well, he's always complaining about it. Says the government should invest more in science. Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Asman. The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? Alright, the victim? The full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. Odie Osman. Odie Osman? Wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with the man? He first visited me in a laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thanked my lucky stars. I see. So you hadn't really known each other until then. Money for scientific research. I'm so envious. As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel. Oh, really? An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Great Exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Asman provided me with the money and an exceptional engineer. Who's the engineer? He produced a machine to my precise specifications. But then your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Asman. I would never, ever have thought of taking the man's life. Well, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. Alright then, let's see about if we can maybe present you with this, see if we get anything here. How could this have happened? He must feel awful. As well as a man losing his life, the Crystal Tower was greatly damaged too. I know what happened. It must have been that. That? The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings too much in change. But instead of saying anything, I just slipped the coins into my pocket. They're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing. That's what this is. For a scientist, he has some very illogical anecdotes. Long and illogical. There's nothing more there? Alright then. We can't examine. Let's move then. Prosecutor's offices. Alright. Oh my. Quite lovely, quite lovely. Oh, there's a little castle down there. There's like a little Bobby in front of a replica of the transmitter. 22nd of October, Prosecutor's office. Oh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office. Yes, it appears so. It sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere. Oh, is that? Okay. That hooded figure was so still I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. What are you doing here? He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. It's just all those chalices as well he's got. He's got spares. He's got spares. We know why he's okay with throwing them around. He's got quite a few spares. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you well. I am. Yep. So, is the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Oh. That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. Must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper? I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming, that is, such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Uh-huh. Well, let's see here. Straight away, you. Really looks like a punishment to me. I've never seen someone sitting like that before. He hasn't moved a muscle since we arrived. You think perhaps he's dead? If he was dead, Bruno, he wouldn't be sitting up, would he? Well, anyway, dead or alive, he's not overly approachable, is he? I don't think he's going to talk to us. He's not dead. No, but I have a feeling he's Japanese based on this kind of situation, the way he's sitting. It's not a very British thing. It's out of place in this kind of scenario, so... what else could it be? I've got my some suspicions already, but I don't think they're trying to hide it necessarily. Look at all those ancient casks lining the wall there. Would explain where he gets all the wine, yeah. Casks in the Reaper's chamber? Or are they caskets? You don't think one of those people who escaped conviction in court are lying inside them dead, do you? What ridiculous notions are you going through your head, man? It's my collection of fine vintages. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you for clearing that up. Bruno and I were just musing to ourselves. Don't mind us, Mr. Reaper. They really got caught up in that, didn't they? I wouldn't if you hadn't invited yourselves to my office to talk nonsense within my earshot. Nothing with that. Picture. That portrait really dominates the room, doesn't it? Oh my. It's a very majestic outfit and pose, but sadly, whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of capturing Lord Van Zieks' facial features, unless it's before he got his scar mate, or it's an ancestor who looks very similar. Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not far off, but the artist had exaggerated the subject handsomeness, I think. Ah, that reminds me. I heard Emperor Napoleon of France ordered artists to make him look more attractive when they painted him. How vain. That's really not an attractive quality in a person, is it? That portrait does not depict me. Surely that's immediately obvious. Oh, then who is it? Okay. What's the model for then? Oh, look! It's the scale model of the Great Exhibition Showground. That's amazing. I wonder why it's here. Perhaps he made it to take his mind off the sadness of being too busy to attend in person. Or perhaps he's too embarrassed to queue up for a ticket. Surely it's obvious that I'm using it as an investigative aid. You Nipponese have no business painting others as overly reserved. Ugh, I really didn't think he'd overhear that. There's the swords on the wall there. Alright. Lord Van Zieks' desk, look. It's so stylish. And that's a marble chess set beside it. Chess? That's the Western version of our Japanese shogi game, isn't it? No, I'm actually quite good at shogi problems. Oh, really? You probably like chess problems in that case. I'd love to challenge Lord Van Zieks sometime to a bout of shogi problems. If you only really want to challenge yourself, you can always do that on your own at home. Interesting. Look at that fine collection of hallowed chalices and bottles neatly lined up there. My hallowed bottles are filled with the essence of the finest grapes from the finest vineyards I visit. And I personally oversee these chalices being made by the finest crystal craftsmen in the world. And yet you throw them around in court like they were worthless. Yes, because this imbecile is so unimaginably and repeatedly wide of the mark sometimes. Oh. Before you open your mouth next time, you should consider the poor artisans whose work you defile. So, it's my fault? Silly me, how could I ever have thought otherwise? Oh dear. So I think we're done looking around the place. So I'm thinking... Bats. Oh, bloody hell. Where? They were bats. Yes, the Reaper's familiars, I expect. What about the mute man in the dark cloak? I thought he was the familiar. Just not the flying kind. He must be a dear friend of Mr. Reaper, then. I think the familiar idea is more likely. Scary, though, either way. But I'm gonna say we shall end this part here. And in the next part, we'll converse and maybe present him with the letter. The letter? The newspaper. Yeah. Very strange. Anyway, we'll see you in the next part. Ta-ra for now.